Your brain is not a perfect camera. It doesn't just record what is happening around you. Instead, it actively creates your own personal version of what you call reality. This process means your perception of the world is unique. What you see, hear, and feel is filtered. This filtering process can sometimes mislead you in surprising ways. We call these mental filters and shortcuts cognitive biases. They are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment. They help your brain work more efficiently. These mental shortcuts are not flaws in your brain's design. They are evolutionary features developed over millions of years. They helped our ancestors survive by making fast decisions. However, in our complex modern world, these same shortcuts can lead to errors. Understanding them helps you see reality more clearly and make much better choices for yourself. Your brain receives billions of bits of information every second. It cannot possibly process all of this data. So, it takes shortcuts and makes educated guesses about the world. Think about optical illusions. They work because your brain makes assumptions about what it sees. It fills in missing information based on its past experiences with similar visual patterns. For example, your brain has a blind spot in each eye. You don't notice it because your brain cleverly fills in the gap with surrounding visual information. This filling in process is not just for vision. Your brain does it with sound, too. It pieces together fragmented sounds into words or familiar noises you recognize. This construction of reality happens automatically and unconsciously. You are not even aware that your brain is constantly editing your experience of the world around you every day. Your brain creates a simplified model of the world. This model is useful for navigating your daily life, but it is not a completely accurate representation of objective reality. This simplification process is why you can focus on one conversation in a crowded, noisy room. Your brain filters out all the other sounds, letting you pay attention. This ability is called the cocktail party effect. It shows how your brain actively selects what sensory information to process and what information it should ultimately just ignore. So the reality you experience is not raw data. It is a carefully curated story, written and directed by your brain to help you make sense of everything. Understanding this is the first step to seeing beyond the story. It helps you question your own perceptions and what you believe to be absolutely true about things. Let's explore specific mental shortcuts or biases. One of the most common is called confirmation bias. It is a powerful and very pervasive force in our daily lives. Confirmation bias is the tendency to search for information that supports your existing beliefs. You also tend to ignore information that contradicts what you already believe to be true. For instance, if you believe a certain political candidate is great, you will seek out positive news about them. You will dismiss any negative stories as fake or biased. This bias makes it very difficult to change your mind. Your brain protects its beliefs by building a bubble of confirming evidence, making your views feel more correct. To fight this, actively seek out opposing views. Try to understand the other side's argument with an open mind. This simple act can broaden your own personal perspective. Next, let's talk about the anchoring bias. This happens when you rely too heavily on the first piece of information you receive when making important life or work decisions. This initial piece of information acts as an anchor. All subsequent judgments and negotiations are then biased toward that starting point, even if that anchor is completely arbitrary. For example, the first price you see for a product sets your expectation. A discounted price seems like a good deal, even if the original price was artificially inflated. This affects salary negotiations, legal sentences, and everyday purchases. The first number mentioned has a powerful, lingering effect on the final outcome of the entire negotiation or decision. Be aware of the first number you hear. Question if it is a reasonable starting point. Set your own anchor when possible to help you guide the conversation. Now consider the availability heuristic. This is a mental shortcut that relies on immediate examples that come to mind when evaluating a specific topic, concept, or decision. If you can recall something easily, you assume it must be more important or more common than things that are harder to recall. This is often a mistake. For example, after seeing many news reports about plane crashes, you might feel flying is more dangerous than driving. Statistically, driving is actually far more dangerous than flying. The news makes plane crashes very vivid and memorable. This availability makes you overestimate the actual risk of flying, a classic example of this particular mental heuristic at work. To counteract this, look for actual statistics and data. Don't just rely on your gut feelings or stories you have heard. Base your important decisions on solid evidence. Another interesting bias is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a cognitive bias where people with low ability at a task tend to overestimate their own actual ability. Essentially, people who are unskilled in a certain area lack the skill to even recognize their own incompetence. Their lack of knowledge prevents them from seeing their mistakes. Conversely, experts in a field often underestimate their own ability. They assume tasks that are easy for them must also be easy for everyone else in the world. This is why you sometimes see confident incompetence and modest expertise. It is a strange paradox of human self-assessment, and it is seen in many different areas. The best way to avoid this is to never stop learning. Always seek feedback from others you trust, and be willing to admit what you do not know. Have you ever felt you knew it all along after an event happened? This common feeling is called hindsight bias. It is a very common psychological phenomenon. Hindsight bias is the tendency to see past events as being more predictable than they actually were before the event took place. It distorts your memory of things. After a sports team wins a game, many people will say they knew that team would win. But before the game, the outcome was actually much less certain. This bias can be harmful. It can make us overly critical of past decisions, both our own and those of others. We forget the uncertainty people faced then. To avoid this trap, try to remember the uncertainty of the past. Keep a journal of your predictions. This helps you see how unpredictable the future really is. Our brains also have a negativity bias. This means that things of a more negative nature have a greater effect on one's psychological state than neutral things. Your brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. You tend to remember insults more than praise and dwell on bad news more than good. This bias likely evolved to keep our ancestors safe. Paying close attention to threats and dangers in the environment was crucial for their survival in a dangerous, ancient world. But today, this bias can lead to anxiety and pessimism. The constant stream of bad news from media can make the world seem much worse than it really is. To balance this, consciously practice gratitude. Make an effort to notice and savor the good moments in your life, no matter how small they may seem at first. Your memory is not like a video recorder. It does not store perfect recordings of your past experiences. Your memory is actually a very creative and reconstructive process. Each time you recall a memory, your brain rebuilds it. During this process, the memory can be changed by your current mood, beliefs, and even new information. This is why two people can remember the same event very differently. Each person's brain rebuilt the memory using their own unique set of filters and personal life experiences. Over time, a memory can change so much that it no longer accurately represents the original event. It becomes a story we tell ourselves about what happened before. This is not a failure of your memory. It is how your memory is designed to work. It makes memory flexible and helps you integrate new learning with old experiences. Because memory is reconstructive, it is possible to have false memories. These are recollections of events that never actually happened, but they feel completely real to the person. Researchers have shown that it is surprisingly easy to implant false memories in people's minds. Simply suggesting that an event happened can sometimes be enough to create it. This has major implications for things like eyewitness testimony in court cases. An eyewitness can be very confident in their memory, even if it is factually very inaccurate. False memories are not lies. The person genuinely believes the memory is true. Their brain has simply constructed a plausible narrative based on suggestion, imagination, and other memories. This shows how fragile and malleable our memories truly are. We must be cautious about treating our own recollections as infallible records of things that happened in the past. Your emotions also have a powerful influence on what you remember. Strong emotional events, both good and bad, are often remembered much more vividly than neutral, everyday events. This is called flashbulb memory. You might remember exactly where you were and what you were doing when you heard about a major public event, for example. However, even these highly emotional memories are not perfect. While they feel incredibly vivid and accurate, research shows that they can also change and decay over long periods. Your current mood can also affect what you remember. If you are feeling happy, you are more likely to recall happy memories. If you are sad, sad memories surface. This creates a feedback loop. Your mood influences your memories, and your memories then reinforce your current mood. This can be hard to break out of when sad. Beyond just affecting memory, your emotions constantly color your perception of reality. How you feel in the moment can change how you interpret events, people, and information. When you feel afraid, your brain goes on high alert for threats. You are more likely to perceive ambiguous situations as dangerous. A shadow becomes a potential intruder. This is your brain's survival system at work. It is better to have a false alarm and be safe than to miss a real danger that is there. However, in modern life, this can lead to chronic anxiety. Your brain may perceive threats everywhere, from social interactions to news headlines, keeping you in constant fear. Fear can also narrow your focus. It makes you concentrate only on the perceived threat, ignoring other important information. This can lead to poor decision-making in stressful situations. On the other hand, happiness can broaden your perspective. When you are in a good mood, you are more creative, open to new ideas, and better at solving problems. Positive emotions can make you see the world as a safer, friendlier place. You are more likely to trust others and see the good in people around you. This is why feeling good is not just a pleasant experience. It actually changes how your brain processes information, making you more flexible and resilient in your daily life. However, even happiness can have a downside. Extreme happiness can make you more impulsive and more likely to take risks, as you might underestimate potential negative consequences. The key is emotional balance. Understanding how your feelings shape your reality allows you to step back and assess situations more objectively, without being controlled by your emotions. Your beliefs and expectations act as powerful lenses through which you view the world. They can quite literally change your reality, a phenomenon seen in the placebo effect. The placebo effect occurs when a person experiences real physical or psychological benefits from a fake treatment. The improvement comes from their belief in the treatment, not it. If you believe a sugar pill will cure your headache, it often will. Your brain releases its own natural pain-relieving chemicals because it expects the pill to work. This is not just in your head. The placebo effect can create measurable physiological changes in the body. It shows the incredible power of the mind over the body. This demonstrates that your expectations about an outcome can directly influence that outcome. Your brain's predictions can become your body's reality, which is a very powerful mechanism. This leads to the idea of a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is a belief or expectation that influences your behavior in a way that makes the expectation come true. For example, if a teacher believes a student is highly intelligent, they might give that student more attention. The student then performs better, confirming the teacher's original belief. The same works in reverse. If you believe you are going to fail a job interview, you might act nervous and insecure, which leads to a poor performance. Your beliefs about yourself and others can create the very reality you expect. You are constantly, and often unconsciously, co-creating the outcomes you experience in your life. Challenge your limiting beliefs. By changing your expectations, you can change your behavior. This, in turn, can help you create more positive outcomes for yourself and others. Your brain doesn't just lie to you on its own. The people around you also have a profound impact on your perception of reality. We are social creatures. This is known as social influence. One powerful form is conformity, which is the tendency to adjust your thoughts, feelings, or behaviors to match those of a group. Classic experiments have shown that people will often agree with a group's obviously wrong answer, just to avoid standing out or being seen as different from the group. This desire to fit in is a powerful motivator. It can cause you to doubt your own senses and judgment when they conflict with the consensus of the group. We look to others for cues on how to act and what to believe, especially in uncertain situations. This social proof can be a useful shortcut, but also misleading. A more extreme form of social influence is groupthink. This happens when a group's desire for harmony results in an irrational or dysfunctional decision-making outcome for all. In groupthink situations, members avoid raising controversial issues. They suppress their dissenting viewpoints in the interest of maintaining group cohesion and a false sense of overall group unity. This can lead to disastrous decisions in business and politics. Critical thinking is sacrificed at the altar of consensus, which can have very damaging real-world consequences for everyone. To avoid groupthink, leaders should encourage dissent and debate. Appointing a devil's advocate to challenge the prevailing view can help the group make much more effective, rational decisions. Your social reality is a shared construction. Being aware of conformity and groupthink helps you maintain your own independent judgment, even when faced with strong social and peer pressure. So why does your brain lie to you? It is not because your brain is broken or flawed. These biases and shortcuts are actually features, not programming bugs. They are the product of evolution. For our ancestors, making a fast decision was often more important for survival than making a perfectly accurate one in all circumstances. Seeing a pattern in the rustling grass and assuming it's a predator is a good mistake to make. Missing a real predator is a fatal one for you. Your brain is wired to conserve energy. Thinking slowly and deliberating every single choice is exhausting. Heuristics and biases allow you to operate efficiently on mental autopilot. These mental tricks are essential for navigating a world that is overwhelmingly complex. They create a simplified, manageable version of reality that you can act upon very quickly. However, awareness is your greatest tool. By understanding that your brain constructs your reality, you can begin to question your own assumptions and automatic reactions to things. You can learn to recognize your own biases in action. This allows you to pause and engage in more careful, deliberate thinking when the stakes are high for you. Practice intellectual humility. Accept that your perception is not perfect and that your memory can be flawed. Be open to changing your mind when presented with new evidence. The goal is not to eliminate these biases, which is impossible. The goal is to be aware of them and to mitigate their influence on your most important decisions. By understanding the hidden psychology of your own mind, you gain the power to see the world and yourself more clearly. This is the path to wisdom.